Welcome to the Clean Your Toilet podcast. My name is Xing Jian. You can also call me XJ, and I will be your host. So, what is this podcast all about? If we imagine our lives to be a toilet bowl, right? There are many things that go into it. Some, most of the time, not so savory. So, it is important that you have a clean toilet. Don't you agree? So what we're going to be discussing in our podcast is how to, from time to time, take a look at your life, which is a toilet bowl, and what needs to be done to keep it sparkling clean. Today, I have an exciting guest who will be here to share about how we can do this. He is a leading inner work specialist, a teacher of consciousness, spirituality, and social change. So this individual, Ming, he is very well versed in how to help people do their inner work, to clean their inner toilet, and attain their personal mastery. Hi Ming, welcome to the podcast. How are you
Hello.
feeling today?
I'm okay. Been
Okay.
really busy, running around since I've been back.
And then what have you been up to?
Well, you know what I've been up to.
That's true. So, we have you here today because we want to talk a little bit about personal mastery and inner work.
Yeah.
Right? What do you feel called to discuss today first? The personal mastery aspect or the inner work aspect?
Well, I think they're all the same aspect, isn't it?
True.
I think one of the things that, we need to really realize itself is that mastery itself is not a label, it's not a title. Mastery itself is a way of life in terms of how we master ourselves. I mean, traditionally in the samurai time itself, warriors, samurais itself practice sword every day.
Yes.
And despite the ranks that they carry, they do their work diligently itself. So I think there needs to be a separation in terms of titles, ranks, as part of our identity versus, the way of life.
I see.
So part of inner work itself, really is about you doing the work on yourself.
Yes.
Okay, and what does it mean? It means that you're shit in your life.
Yeah.
Okay. And the first thing that needs to happen is you need to realize that there are shit in your life. in your life.
Yes.
Because if you can't even acknowledge or admit that there's shit in your life, what's there to clean?
Yeah.
Because one is in denial. So the game is really about, getting to know who you are
Yes.
at a very deeper level. Because after all, your external reality is a reflection of your internal world, of who and what is inside of you.
I get that. I think even for myself, when I started this journey of personal development and learning about things,
Yeah.
you can see all the amazing stuff about yourself. But to see that, you also need to see all the not so amazing stuff about yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And the word, I think some people are so politically correct. They shy away from the word shit, as a fear or like what a rude word.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes even that in itself is a lesson. There's something there about like why are you so upset by the word shit? Like is it very hard to acknowledge that there's stuff inside that needs cleaning up? Yeah. So that's what I begin to immediately get when you talk about being clear about these things.
So
inside
one
our
of the
life.
things that most people wouldn't know is that XJ also happens to be ICF Master Certified Life Coach.
Yes. I have worked very hard for that. I'm quite proud of that.
Well, it means that he has basically clocked more than 10,000 hours of coaching since he's been coaching like forever.
Yes, I think it hits a point where the hours kind of like, how many hours have I done? Okay, just keep going.
After a while, I think you can relate to it. After a while, it's no longer about how many hours that you're clocking.
Yes,
It's really about how many lives can you touch, who can you make a difference to.
exactly.
And really, whether your coaching, your technique is finesse enough to really make a difference to somebody else.
Yeah.
And I think this is the real work.
Yes, it's really true. I remember a story that I shared before. Sometimes what we learn in class, right? It's like, you follow this model, you do from this step to that step.
Yeah.
But then when you meet a real case and you apply all your theory and suddenly you realize the theory doesn't work, then what are you going to do in that moment? In that moment, what will you call upon? What do you know? How can I help this person move forward in the stuckness that you witness in front of you? So I think I'm quite privileged to say that I've had the opportunity to be able to do some of these moments, and that is really what it means. Like when I hear you say the hours stop counting, it's really about, are you being able to touch the life of the person who is sitting across from you? Yeah, and I feel that very strongly for sure.
So literally, our external world is a reflection of our internal world. So let's give a little bit of case example.
Yeah.
If a person believes that they are not enough, naturally they're going to manifest not enough in everything they do in their life.
Correct.
Whether it is in their relationship, whether it is in their performance, in their work, whether it is in their career, their family dynamic as well.
Yeah.
They will constantly keep attracting people who will make them feel not good enough.
I see.
Sometimes there are other cases whereby, we start dreaming another person into the role itself. So they end up making another person feeling that they're not enough.
Is this what is colloquially known as the concept of projection? Or is bigger than that?
Well, projection means that, you kind of have tinted lenses in terms of how you look at the world. Because after all, we don't see the world for who we are and what we are. We see the world for
what we want to see?
We see the world for what we want to see.
Yeah.
And many of this, come from our grooming as in our childhood years. So let's say, you were conditioned, whether is it from a family setting or from your social setting or from your environment setting, to look at the world in a particular way.
Yeah.
You'll keep on looking the world in that particular way.
Correct.
So if a person believes that they're stupid, chances are they're going to keep projecting that narrative to everything they do.
Yeah.
But you see, the world doesn't believe that they're stupid. But they have come to accept that as part of their identity. Is the acceptance of it.
Correct. So when they accept it, then they fully take it on.
They fully take it on,
Yeah.
and it becomes part of their identity. It becomes part of the role. Even in their dreaming, they are constantly attracting people who are like this.
I see. Maybe you can share a bit more about like the idea. I get the idea of attracting people that way because you're kind of putting out that same kind of energy.
Yeah.
Right. When we say dreaming, then what do we mean? It is kind of like an aura. It's like a mindset. It's like an energy feel.
So this is where it becomes really interesting because dreams, we think that, okay, so first and foremost, we dream not only when we're sleeping, even as we are awake, we're dreaming.
Yes.
There's this word called daydreaming.
Yes, that's right.
Where our mind will start actually wander off for a moment.
Correct. And that's actually what is also part of.
If I were to put it simply, the whole dreaming itself, we are connected to the whole river of consciousness.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
We dream, we get ideas, we get inspiration. Where do all this inspiration come from?
Yes, it must come from somewhere, right?
They must come from your source.
Yeah.
So where's that source?
It's a river of consciousness.
That's another word to describe it. Some, traditions or religions, call it God.
God.
Some people call it
like is it
the higher power.
Yeah, higher power.
Divine.
Yes, okay. Yeah, I'm beginning to get familiar with all these words. Yeah, these are the terms that sometimes I hear people talk about. But yeah, it always feels like they just talk about it.
But it's not really spiritual fufu once you understand the nature of dreaming and the potent medicine and healing that it comes with. So a lot of times we think that they don't mean anything, so we kind of push them aside.
Yes.
But it's really silly because if they don't mean anything, why did they attract you in the first place? Why did they flirt with you in the first place? Because your awareness and attention got flirted for a moment into that direction.
Yeah.
It's because something was there. So if we start ignoring all these signs, you're going to miss out a lot of things in life. For example, the synchronicities that run in a daily setting.
Correct.
How do you know that you're on the right track? When certain things can repeatedly tell you again and again and again and again.
Yes.
It's like a message, a wake-up call.
Yes.
Guiding you, like a force guiding you, showing you where the path is.
Yeah, I recently had a conversation with another person, right? And then she suddenly asked me this question. How come I keep getting this experience of another person shitting on me? Then I was like, sorry, what do you mean?
Shitting on you?
Yeah, she used these words and she's a very soft-spoken lady, right? And in my world, I'm surprised that she used those words. Then I asked her to share what she means. And then she talked about like there are people who are trying to overstep the authority or trying to maybe they take credit for what she does. And then her conclusion was that it's something around her maybe being too nice or not standing up for herself. And why it was so obvious to her was because the frequency and the intensity of such incidents suddenly became very high to the point where there's some deeper awareness got awakened. And she was like, hey, why is this stuff happening to me? And then it culminated on that day when I was having for lunch, right? She said, I just saw a quote this morning. And then I said, what quote? Then she said, the universe will keep trying to teach you the lesson you need to learn again and again until you learn it. Then for me, being in this industry, obviously I've heard this before. But I asked her, is this the first time you're hearing this quote? And then she said, yes, and it makes so much sense. And then suddenly I went, okay, this is an important lesson. The universe is literally screaming the lesson at you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, at first, the whisper, it comes in the form of whisper.
Yes, that's
Actually,
right. Yeah.
please wake up your idea.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you keep ignoring it,
Yeah.
being in denial of it, it gets louder and louder and louder and louder.
Correct.
And sometimes people get into accidents as a form of wake-up call
Yes.
in order for them to change their life. Sometimes people get disease, cancer.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is our wake-up call.
Yeah.
And I think that disease shouldn't be feared. Disease come from the word dis-ease. It means that you are not at ease.
Yes.
A great question would be, where in your life you're misaligned to, where in your life you're not aligned to your higher purpose.
How would we know, or how would we have a sense of what our highest purpose is?
And I think it begins with a lot of introspection in terms of who you are and what you are. It
Yes.
begins with a lot of awareness as well, and cultivating that awareness. You know what I'm saying?
So, I mean, I think for the listeners out there, at this stage in, I guess, in 2024, 2025, this century, right? People are very familiar with like reflection, journaling. But from my work with coaching individuals, it's always the same pattern that I notice repeating. It's like, yeah, I'm so aware. But at the same time, why has my life not changed? And then to me, that means the obvious answer is that means something different still needs to be done. The awareness is not enough.
Okay, so if you want a different results in your life and you keep doing the same thing over and over again,
Correct.
in terms of what you already know, how are you going to get a different set of results?
Yeah, it's insanity, right? The same results.
Insanity, there's a quote around that.
Yeah.
You keep doing the same thing, you expect a different result. The outcome is going to be the same one. So if a person who wants to be rich
Yeah.
and they have never been rich before, clearly they have to figure out what it means to be rich.
Yes.
And richness doesn't necessarily mean owning or having money.
Yeah.
That's a label that the society actually measure with. So you're going to figure out what it means to you.
I see.
A lot of times we take on a lot of these labels. We never really quite examine, what it means to us.
Correct.
We don't
Yeah.
really examine the value system underlying it.
Yes.
And that's why people get into relationship,
Yes. Relationship.
right?
Yeah.
So we have a relationship with ourselves.
Yes.
We have a relationship with another person.
Yeah.
We have a relationship in a community or group setting.
Yes.
And we also have a relationship with the world.
Okay.
So we can't really solve a personal issue without looking at how it spills over in other parts of our life. Some people say that they have to work on one thing first
Yes.
before they work on another thing. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
I think maybe that's not the way to go lah. Because if you look at people who are, I would say, successful in their own terms, where they run multiple companies, they have the same amount of time as people, but how come certain people can get more things done?
Yeah.
Whereas, some other people, even if they have 24 hours, they still cannot get things done.
Yes.
But you give the same task to another person, they might take 1 hour or less than that to finish.
Yeah, very quickly.
So you got to do with efficiency, you got to do with effectiveness, you also got to do with performance. Of course, the baby boo-boo things is to really look at skill set.
Yes.
Okay, that's what most people look at.
Yeah, the know-how, do you know the technical stuff, etc. Yeah.
But all these things can be learned.
Yeah.
What are you feeling right now? What are you present to?
I'm thinking about the idea of, so what is the thing that people, or even myself, needs to learn that will help to bridge the gap. So like, for example, I identify with the idea of how is it that like all human beings have the same amount of time, but why is it some people get more things done than others? So for example, sometimes I do see myself like, oh yeah, I wish I was more effective, right? Then I'm so curious now. So then what is missing for me? Because it's not like I don't have the knowledge. Like for example, exercise, I know how to go and run or exercise, right? Then it becomes, that means maybe I'm asking the incorrect question, or I'm looking at I'm not looking at the right place for the answer that will help me achieve this so-called efficiency that I'm striving for, right? My train of, that's what is in my head right now as I listen to this.
Tell me more.
point.
Tell me more about it.
Yeah. So I then wonder what is in coaching we always talk about like what's the aha moment, or just in personal development, right? Some people they have an aha moment and then they suddenly their life transforms. You know, they will feel like they have released the burden, or they feel like they found the solution. And I relate that to the idea that I now can stop doing my insanity thing and repeating my thing over again, because I now see a new way out, or I now see a new perspective to look at my life. Yeah. So then if I flip the question back on myself, so what is the new perspective I need to find in order to be more efficient, or be more fulfilled, or be more at ease, etc. Yeah. So these are the kind of things that I'm present to as I hear you share.
So I think you also know one of the things I do is profiling.
Profiler,
Profiler, you know, I work on cases in America,
Yeah.
in different countries.
That's
and,
right.
The truth is this, you know, most people are lying. People lie all the times and they don't even know that they're lying. But that doesn't mean that it's okay to lie.
Yeah.
Okay. People lie all the time. People lie to themselves all the time. That's why they are stuck in their delusion.
Yeah.
And this is a really polarizing conversation, because
Yeah.
if you are feeling triggered as I'm saying this, chances are you know where in your life you're lying to yourself and deceiving yourself.
Correct.
And the thing is this, I think it's more important to be truthful and to be real than to be politically correct. Okay? You put on so much mask pretending to be somebody you're not.
Yes.
Over time, what happens?
You
You
just
start forgetting who you are.
Yes, exactly.
And
You
you
just
start
become the
taking
mask.
you start becoming the mask, like you said.
Yeah.
And it's crazy, isn't it?
It's crazy because no matter how much you try to, I guess, avoid the truth, deep down, you know that it is a mask that you are showing the world.
The truth is the truth.
Yes.
No matter how attractive, glamorous, your lies are, your lie is still a lie. And at some point it's going to break.
Yeah.
Because there is no foundation.
For it to build anything, right?
There's no foundation to build anything. There's no foundation to stand on.
Yeah. But there are people who finish their lives in lies and just never get to the truth, right?
As we're talking, I just got a reminder of a quote.
Okay.
And the quote is saying, my religion is not deceiving myself.
Oh, wow. Oh, that gave me some goosebumps. My religion is not deceiving myself. Wow, that's a deep. Yeah, because hearing it, then I instantly ask, so how and when do I deceive myself? And am I so devout that I actually, okay, maybe pray is not the correct word. Am I so devout that I really live by this statement, right? My religion is not deceiving myself.
If you are committed to the truth,
Yeah.
then you'll go to all ends of the world to seek for the truth, to find it. The thing is this, most people don't follow through their commitments, not even their daily commitments. They say they're going to be here on this particular time, they don't even show up. So how can you expect somebody to do big things when they can't even handle small things in their life?
Okay.
On accountability, on responsibility, on ownership.
Yeah.
And every time, somebody fucked up something,
Yes.
you ask them, why did you do it?
And they say they don't know.
What a convenient answer to get away with things by saying you don't know. But that's how you perpetuate your ignorance. Because every time you say you don't know, you're enabling and empowering the ignorance in the collective unconsciousness.
Say a bit more about that. Empowering the collective ignorance in the collective unconsciousness.
So in process work, we always talk about, okay, the work that we do at a personal level, it doesn't just affect you. It affects the people around you.
Yes.
Because we are all connected in a relational world. Okay.
Yep.
So you can say that we are all connected.
Yes. Okay.
So if we work on ourselves, the world naturally will become a better place. You see, the problem is people get the equation all flipped.
Yes.
So they think they have to change the world. They want to change the world. They have those kind of big dreams.
Yeah.
And those dreams are important because that keeps us alive.
Yeah.
We call that the high dream. Okay. But what about themselves? How can the world come first? You are in the world.
Correct.
If you handle yourself, the world naturally become better.
Yes.
Can visualize?
Yes.
The world.
Correct.
You're in it.
Yeah.
Don't try and change the world. Change yourself. You
Yes.
change yourself, you change the world. It creates a ripple effect.
Mm.
If you change, the people around you will change.
Correct.
If the people around you change, the world will change.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. So then when people don't change, it's because the lies, the illusions.
Comfort.
Oh. Yeah, that's true. Comfort is always a thing that
Truth is too
I have to
painful.
do. Yes, truth is too hard
No, it's hard
Right.
because it's too painful.
to acknowledge.
So
and to see.
people would rather want to be comfortable. And comfort is attachment.
Okay, we have
Attachment to whatever they are familiar with.
Yeah.
Attachment to what will, stop them from being painful.
That's true.
So the problem with all of that is that, where does it lead you to? More delusions, more lies.
Yeah.
Because
you will not.
people are a little bit extreme, when they can't accept or receive something because it threatens their belief system, they completely cancel it out.
Or
But-
they try to stack things on top of it.
They lie,
Yeah.
more deception to justify. I mean, it's really crazy lah. The kind of things that people will do to
Yeah.
keep their lies alive.
That's true.
I've seen people lying, stealing, killing in order to keep their patterns alive. But where does it lead them to? More delusions, more ignorance. But the moment you do that, you are also disconnecting yourself from the truth. You're also disconnecting yourself from the first principles of how the world really works. Now that affects manifestation. Because manifestations are built around the truth.
Yes.
If you do certain things correctly based on the first principle, things will naturally occur. Therefore, manifestation is not just like a magic that just happened like that.
Okay.
It's because you know what needs to be done and you have already done all the base work, the foundational work. A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
What are or is the first principle?
First principle is how the world works, is how the universe operates.
So
You can say that they are the
Yeah.
some people call it, in the spiritual terms, some people call it the universal laws.
Oh.
Some
okay.
people call it, physics, mathematics. We
Yeah.
talk about first principle. Those exist down there.
Mm.
So if you do the first thing, the core thing,
Yes.
you will start realizing that how inefficient we live in the world that we are in today.
I see.
I mean, the whole economy is built based on inefficiencies.
Like the
Now,
more,
you think carefully.
yes.
Do you really need so many jobs?
No.
Do you really need so many jobs in a company? No.
Yes.
The whole point is the economy is built to be inefficient in order to create jobs for the masses.
Correct.
Because why? It creates a social issue. If people are not productive,
Yeah.
they're not in a job, that creates social issues. They could become depressed because there's nothing to wake up for.
Correct.
Or they will start doing shit. Criminal activities.
So every time when we speak about such a topic, when we talk about
So polarizing, isn't it?
it is, and I always have this question, even from as a young child, right? This deeper question of like, so who created the first job and who created the first system, and why did these people do it?
Because
Because
guess what? They're entrepreneurs. You don't look at the country as a country, look at the country as a business.
okay,
Banks, they are not really authority figures. They are just business.
that
And of course, if you take any loans or that,
Yeah.
you're kind of employed to the bank lah.
that's right.
My point is this. This is what happens when you decide to settle down. But the problem is people don't realize the choices that they make once upon a time have consequences. And it continues to bite them till today. Not unless they change.
I see.
Okay. Now, this is really controversial. A very controversial subject
Yeah.
that I think when you were younger, you can talk more openly about this, but after a while, you kind of realize that it's the same conversation. Most people choose to settle down in a 9 to 5.
Yes. Yeah. Find a
Okay.
job, get a
They
career.
make that choice a long time ago, even when they were a student. But you see, they could have made a different choice. They could have decided that they want to run their business. They want to be an entrepreneur. Now, that gives you more leeway. That gives you more autonomy
Yes.
in choosing,
Entrepreneurship.
in making more choices in your life. Because
okay.
you get to decide how things are run.
Yes.
So people, they decided to settle down in a corporate 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Okay, they're not happy.
Mm-hmm.
They're not aligned.
Mm.
And of course, instead of realizing that they have a part to play in all of the choices that they make that led them to where they are,
Yeah.
they start shifting the blame to the companies they work for. They start blaming the boss. They start blaming somebody else.
Blame the
Just
industry, blame the world.
If there's a relational issue,
yes.
how many people really own your shit?
Very few.
The first thing
Yeah.
people are inclined to do is to throw their shit elsewhere, to say that, oh, you are the one that caused that person to be in suffering,
That's
to
right.
be miserable. But that tells you they're not responsible for their reality.
Mm.
It means that they have forgotten that we are all masters of our reality. When have they given that power away?
That's a great question. I think most people don't even know. Or they don't even think about themselves
They
in
don't
this
even-
way.
They don't even
Yeah.
think themselves. People are self-absorbed. We think the world revolves around us.
Yeah.
But the truth is this, dust to dust, ashes to ashes.
Yeah.
You came into this world by yourself. You're going to leave this world by yourself.
Mm.
At the end of the day, at the final judgment day,
Okay. Yes.
okay, I'm seeing the whole image about Anubis measuring.
Oh, the
You know,
scales.
you watch movies, you know.
yes. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's really a question, have you lived your life? Have you lived your life? Did you live your life in your own terms?
Yeah.
Well, part of living your life means that you're going to make a lot of mistakes,
Yeah.
making a lot of errors in your life. Because the truth is this, until you make the error, you will never know that it's an error.
Mm.
Not unless you have the wisdom, not unless you have done it multiple times before.
Correct.
So how can we be in denial when there's so much things to learn? It's the same thing since we started this conversation around mastery.
Yes.
How certain people, they learn one thing and then they think that's it.
Oh, and then they stop.
They stop. They never really quite progress. They never continue their education.
Yeah.
Education doesn't mean, which school you graduated from. Education
Correct.
means it's a life journey.
Yes. Like, do we continuously seek or
Knowledge.
be curious?
And
Yeah.
education doesn't mean how many books you read only,
Yeah.
even though that's only one part of it. Sometimes education means, paying
Mm.
to be in a certain circle that you want to be in.
Oh.
So
okay.
let's say, you want to start a business.
Yeah.
Okay. And your clients are of a certain profile. Naturally, you want to be paid to be part of that circle
Yes.
in order to get your clients.
Yeah.
And that's part of education. If there's something that curious you, that excites you, that makes you feel like, okay, I always wanted to learn this, go and learn that. Stop delaying your education. Stop telling yourself that tomorrow will come. You don't even know whether you're going to wake up tomorrow.
Yeah.
Are you sleepy? I'm in a very dreamy state right now.
I'm in a dreamy state too. I think so far the conversation has been interesting because we have to visit both, I guess, maybe more aspirational aspects, but you cannot go towards aspiration without confronting all the dark and shitty things, because those are the things
The
that tie us
shadows.
down. The shadows, right? Those are the things that tie us down. Those are the things that like chain us up. And some people are very happy to not look at their shadows,
And these days, there are people
who
You know,
embrace the shadows.
who run their classes, and then they say within 3 hours they can get rid of their shadows. Your shadows, you're not supposed to get rid of it. Your
Yeah.
shadows are a part of you.
Correct.
And then of course there are also other people who every time they fuck something up, instead of cleaning up their shit, they say it's their shadow.
Yes.
It's always so convenient for people to find reason to make things wrong rather than to do the right thing. And I think it takes a lot of courage to do the right thing and to do the right thing right.
Yeah. I feel like our listeners needed to hear that one more time. It takes a lot of courage to do the right thing and to do the right thing right.
Correct. You can
Yeah.
tell me, say you know the right thing, but that doesn't mean you know how to do it right.
Mm.
You can still do it wrong,
Yes.
even if it's the right thing.
I understand.
And at the end of the day, we're just going to answer this, whatever we do, is it in alignment with our integrity?
Mm.
Integrity comes from the word integral.
Yeah.
Are we being integral with ourselves? Are we being whole and complete with ourselves?
Yeah. Correct. Actually, I have a question around that.
Sure.
Right? So I think, and it's linked to this other concept of like, people always ask, what's my life purpose? What am I meant to do? Right? And I think whenever any person attempts to answer this question, some will try very hard, some will instantly give up. Right?
What do you mean by they give up?
It's like, I don't know, or I can't, so what am I really meant to do? Because they have to combat or they have to deal with the noise of like, oh, society says I should do this, or my mom says I should do that, my dad says I should do that, or all the expectations, all these inefficient structures that we talked about, right? They have been created as all illusions, right? So
they're not illusion, they're just structures created by a flawed man. But the problem is people operate based on this structure, thinking that is the ultimate truth, is the fundamental thing of how the world works. For example, industrial period, that was how 9 to 5 was created.
Yes, correct.
And people think that, that is supposed to be normal. But when did it become normal? When you first introduce something to the world, it's never normal. The world will criticize it.
Yeah, that's
because there's always a challenge in coming to adapt something that's new.
Yes.
Because it threatens people's comfort.
Correct.
It's over 100 of years of programming and,
Yeah. So quote unquote normalization.
And people started thinking that it's normal. So it's the same thing as building a habit. When you first learn something, is it difficult? It will be challenging.
100%.
Okay. Yeah. Know the difference between difficult and challenging.
Oh, what's the difference?
Challenges are meant for you to grow. The purpose of a problem is not to stop you. The purpose of a problem is like a block in front of you so that you can learn how to rise above it.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. And then difficulty is?
Difficulty is a shit in your head.
It's the story or the drama.
The story, who decide whether something is easy or difficult? You. So why are you making it difficult for yourself to get something done? Yes, it can be challenging, but it doesn't have to be difficult.
I think that's a very important distinction that people need to begin to understand. Because I always feel like we just conflate the two, just collapse.
People just conflate things, lump things together, collapse everything. What a very convenient way. But that it tells you that lazy lah. Because if it takes 100 steps to climb to a mountain, it takes 100 steps.
Yeah.
You can tell me, say you climb 97 steps. Did you reach the top, the pinnacle of the mountain?
No, because you didn't climb your 100 steps. Huh?
You missed your 3 steps.
Yes, that's right.
You're not quite there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Take 3 more steps.
If you take 105 steps
to
climb 100 steps mountain, it means you're inefficient.
That's right.
There's some 5 steps of inefficiency. And of course, as we work on our life, we become more efficient as a person.
Yeah.
As we work on our life, we become more efficient as a person.
Okay.
And that gives us more options in our life because we are no longer fixated in the narrative that we took on as part of identity.
Correct.
Because those narratives have already created a default direction. Which means you're inclined to make the same choice again.
Correct.
You can be hurt in a certain relationship, but you will keep on looking for the same person to hurt you again and again and again. So, an eldership wisdom will look like this. Have you suffered enough to want to give up a negative pattern that you are repeatedly running your entire life?
That's right. Yeah.
Have you suffered enough?
This conversation is very confronting because...
What are you confronted by? Tell me.
I've learned this lesson before in my line of work, which is the learning never ends.
I thought you already left your line of work. You're not going to do coaching anymore. I thought I heard you were going to run your business.
Okay, then maybe line of work is not the right phrase. As in, then maybe it's more of like to understand what personal development is to...
It's everyday thing.
Yes.
It's everyday thing. It's every minute.
Ending.
It's not a rank thing. It's not a role thing. It's not like a thing you do when you feel like doing. It's not a thing you do only when your life is shit.
Correct. Yes.
It's a way of life. It's like breathing air.
Yes.
It's like shitting.
Correct.
It's like drinking water.
Yes. It's like cleaning your toilet.
Well, the problem is most people don't even bother to clean the toilet. They get a maid to actually do that.
Yes. So then that is like a transfer of responsibility, right?
And then, of course, the problem with that is, guess
when
what?
the toilet's not clean, they blame the maid.
They blame the maid for their mess.
Yeah.
But the maid, the housekeeper, becomes so proficient in cleaning.
Yeah. That's right. Because they are doing their job.
And then the funny thing is people will say, oh, they don't have time, oh, blah, blah, blah. But you see, whatever excuse you keep making, that becomes your reality.
Correct. Yeah. And people...
That's how you perpetuate your own fucked upness.
Yeah. People pull in...
I think fucked upness should not be a profanity. It should be a vocabulary. What do you think?
I agree, right? But I can also immediately imagine all the people who are triggered. So I don't say a word of fairness. For those of you who are listening, if you are triggered, right, do not take offense. Take the opportunity to look inwards. What is making you feel the discomfort? What is making you feel the unease? What is making you feel upset? There is something to look at. For sure, 100%. Yeah.
And that's not it. Sometimes you feel resonance,
resonance,
being able
right?
to resonance in whatever that we're sharing.
Correct.
You feel, yes,
Yeah.
that's how I feel
Yeah,
too.
they get it. They're describing exactly.
You also want to
yes.
examine that as well.
That's right.
Because, it could mean that, you're not in the right circle in your relationship, in your circle itself. That's why you believe that people around you don't get it.
Yes. And then you move through life continually repeating this voice called, people don't get me. People don't understand me.
Yeah.
And then you perpetuate.
It becomes a dreaming thing. You're dreaming people who doesn't understand you into your life.
Yeah.
But if you want to be understood, you have to be understood. You have to allow yourself to be understood. You have to understand yourself. Right? You can't expect what you don't have in other people.
Wow. You can't expect what you don't have in other people. Okay, yes.
You attract what you are.
Correct. So therefore you cannot expect what you don't have in other people. Is that correct? No.
You cannot expect what you don't have in other people, which is the problem in a lot of relationship.
Yeah.
They're looking for somebody to fill them up.
Fill the missing. Yeah.
But you're going to be whole first. Because if you're whole, then you will attract somebody who is whole. But if you're looking for somebody to fill you up, you will never be fulfilled or happy.
Correct.
Because what happens when that person has nothing more to offer you?
Yeah. Or they choose to just stop
That's
offering
the end
you.
of the relationship.
Yeah, correct.
Which means the relationship foundation is all based on taking. Then when does the giving happens? The problem is this: people think that there's a limited resources. That's why they keep holding back when it comes to giving. They don't realize that giving and taking is the same part of equation.
Yes.
It's called principle of conservation of energy. Energy cannot be destroyed or created. It can only be transformed from one form to another. Give whatever you would love to receive.
Yeah.
You want a client, send a client, offer a client to somebody else. Do what you want other people to do to you.
That is definitely familiar. And they're definitely not practiced. Doing unto others what you want to.
How can you expect, we live in a world and somehow we believe that, there's limited resources, but the world is bigger than you.
Yeah.
There's so much things out there. Money is everywhere. People are everywhere. So how can you say that you don't have people?
Yes. And
all you need to do is to get your ass out there to connect, to talk to people.
Yeah.
What do you mean by there's no opportunities? I already said the economy is built to be inefficient.
Yes.
Which means there's more than enough jobs to cover the whole mass population. So you're gonna examine what are the filters, what are the limitations, the limiters that you set in your life.
Correct.
That gets you trapped in this small little tiny hologram of yours. Where you can't see or envision a world filled with possibilities. So I think being small is a choice. Being big is a choice too. Being generous is a choice.
Yeah.
Do you really need to announce to the whole world what you have done for other people? No. Nobody really give a shit.
Yeah.
Unless you're doing it to get that kind of attention. But what's there to really boast about? It should be the way of life. Everybody should be doing that. You give freely so that you can receive freely.
Correct.
But when you have so much difficulty in giving, you have a problem. You have an issue.
Yeah.
And it's quite a big issue. And at some point, it's going to catch up to all your relationship in your life.
Because deep down, you don't actually give.
You don't give.
Yeah.
And why do you not give? Because you believe you're not enough.
Yeah.
And if you give, you won't have it anymore. So you're still operating in a world based on not enough.
Doesn't that mean that a lot of the world is this way?
Like, what do you mean by other world?
Like when you speak and you share these examples, right?
Yeah.
I feel like it's so commonplace. I hear this all the time in in my family,
Except that it's not common to me lah. It's common to your reality lah.
oh, okay.
Right? We don't live in the same world because we are built differently.
Yes, that's true.
Okay, and I'm not saying this as a way to create distinction and separation or
Yeah.
inequality. I'm saying this to recognize that it is so real to you because you're constantly attracting that in your world. Therefore, it only applies to the world that you're in. But in the world that I'm in, it's a totally different thing.
Because people in your world are generous and they do give, and that's what you experience.
Because if I'm like that, naturally the circle that I would attract would be like that too. And of course, after this podcast, some people is going to just oversimplify this into a law of attraction.
Oh,
It's not really that.
yeah,
It's a principle of life. It's a universal law.
correct.
Whatever you want, you give.
Wow. I think that's
A
an
gift,
interesting one.
GIFT, is meant to be given away.
Correct. Yeah.
But then, there are also people who do things not coming from a space of
Actual giving or generosity.
actual giving or actual generosity.
That's right. The
They are
expectation.
doing it with the expectation of getting something in return.
Correct. The
But
exchange thing.
that's not pure anymore.
Correct.
It's an impure thing.
Mm.
But when you give, you no longer hold on to any expectation or outcome of what you're going to get, which means you allow yourself to be open to receiving any forms.
Of whatever might be returned.
The law of
Yeah.
equivalent exchange, whatever you give, you will receive.
Mm.
But you see, because you lack imagination, you propagate your lack
Into
and your scarcity.
Yeah, into the way we view.
Yeah, so
things.
you keep trying to hold on to things or you expect the thing to come in this particular form. But that's where it's an attachment.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what creates a lot of your suffering and unhappiness because you want it this way.
Correct.
But spirit or source, is saying that, no, this shouldn't be the way.
Yeah, it should actually look this other way. But then with our attachments, we protest. Say, no, I want it my way or
So
whichever way.
what if we can let go of all this attachment and just follow the Tao?
Wow.
What if we can just let go of that kind of attachment and just follow our bodies, where our bodies are guiding us?
Correct. I instantly hear all the noisy people scream, no, it's so difficult. I didn't know night environment and what is this Tao thing? Yeah. But I hear what you're
Then
trying
okay
to
lah.
say.
Then you must be ready for the consequences lah. The consequence
Correct.
is if you're not happy now, chances are you're going to continue not happy lah.
Yeah,
You
that's
can
right.
tell yourself a lie, but you're still not happy.
Correct.
The lie will get broken
Because,
in a matter of time.
yes, exactly. It's just a matter of when, right? But the lie will get broken. How are you feeling?
I'm
at
feeling a
this-
bit stuffy. I'm feeling, I don't know.
Yeah, is the environment?
I think
or
it's the
is it-
environment thing.
I see.
And I think, what are you feeling?
That there's a lot
Yeah.
of topics, and then also, I feel like if we want to educate and reach out to people,
I think inner work
Yeah.
people need to get is that it's a personal mastery thing.
correct?
It's not
Yeah.
something you do only when your life is shit. It should
Yeah.
have been done since you were a kid. It's a way of life.
Yes.
When you were born, you're given a set of organs, a set number of bones, a set number of nerve system, lymphatic system, your
Yeah.
gland system, your endocrine system,
Correct.
your digestive system has specific organs.
Mm.
But yet, how many people bother to learn their body anatomy?
No lah.
I ask you, what's your liver?
I would embarrassingly point maybe the wrong place. Yeah.
But exactly what you say, you don't even know.
Correct.
You point in the wrong place because you don't know.
Yeah.
But you've been given this since you were born. How can you not know? And yet you start chasing after all the outside things. I think it's pretty paradoxical lah.
Okay.
Why are you chasing things outside when you don't even bother to learn what kind of
Yourself,
resource you have that you were
Yes.
given since you were a kid?
Yeah. I suddenly
Does it make sense?
it makes sense, and I suddenly had this random exciting thought, like, wouldn't it be so exciting if our just to use these principles and we change our education system? I think one of the first times I had a notion like that was, why they never teach us in school how to talk to each other, like really talk or just really connect, but instead you're learning like how to write compo, introduction, all that. I mean, there's use for those things, but it is not the problems that I see later in life, right? People say, I don't know how to connect. I don't know how to talk to girls. I don't know how to talk to guys. It's like, oh, you just don't know how to talk in general, right? Just as a simple symptom. And if I take your example, then, well, actually, there's so many things that we should learn about ourselves that actually we go through life not knowing. And instead, we choose to take pride or take hubris in all these other structures and other things.
Some of the stories that you lie to yourself, that you keep telling yourself you don't have time.
Yeah.
That's why you're not learning. That's why you're not educating yourself. And I think that's dumb.
That's
because, okay, if you don't learn whatever you need to learn, there are consequences too. My point is, whatever choice you make, there's always consequences. Whatever choice you choose not to make, there is always consequences. Yeah. And if you make a choice that's incorrect, fix it. And you know that it's not leading you to where you want, fix it. Don't blame it on somebody else. Don't throw that shit to somebody else. Nobody gaslighted you to make those choices. You make those choices in your own free will. Own that responsibility and clean up your mess.
Yeah.
You fucked up something, what could be the worst thing that happened?
Correct.
Sometimes people create a lot of drama in their head.
Yeah.
They create a lot of narrative.
Yeah.
And then they don't do the right thing. But that's how relationships get destroyed.
Yeah.
Sometimes you fuck something up, apologize. Be humble enough to put your ego down.
Yes.
And not say, oh, I really apologize in your head. Doesn't really quite work that way,
Correct.
When the person is still alive.
Yeah, it seems to come out of your mouth.
That means you have an ego issue.
Yeah.
Ego means where energy goes, wherever you are putting it.
Correct. Yeah, I think a lot of people always assume that it's a pride thing or they appear aggressive. No, ego can be that attachment to like, oh, I'm very shy, I'm very small, or I don't speak. But actually, like in the moment of life, you are required to speak up, or required to stand up, or required to apologize. But you believe that you don't need to, or you not.
So I think a lot of people would think that ego is about the big stuff.
Yeah,
it's about how you boast, you hold on to your.
Oh, it's not just that
big titles, as part of your identity. It's not just that, Ego is literally the shell you operate on. The question is, is it like the car, but who is the driver in the car?
Yes.
Is it on autopilot? Autopilot means that, all the childhood programs, naturally just
run. Yeah.
And you're just seated at the
fully
back
switch
seat.
off one.
Some people are not seated at the back seat. Some people are sitting at the passenger seat.
Yes. Yeah.
Some people are sitting at the driver's seat. The responsibility is different. When you're at the driver's seat, you're going to ask, are you driving the car properly? Are you driving the direction where you're supposed to head to? Your life is supposed to head to.
Yeah. That's a great analogy. Like where inside the car of your life are you actually seated? Yes.
So important.
Yeah.
Some people not even inside the
not
car.
Not even inside the car. Yeah.
And they can't just go.
Yeah,
they are left behind the past.
Oh my goodness, yes. Yeah.
What was that?
That was like I think both for a bit like for myself in moments where I've learned that sometimes I'm not being part of my life, but also the moment when I have also seen others who are really not in their life too. It's a strange compassion of like a strange mix of like compassion but also self-acknowledgement of moments when I ask myself the question, so have I always properly been in my driver's seat? Or did I like kind of let the car go and I didn't even pay attention,
Some people's car long time never maintained.
All rusty.
Spider web is all inside.
Yes, yeah.
Car barely could move. Some people's tire is punctured.
Correct. No gas. And then yet you keep wondering why my car cannot move. Actually, you didn't even fill up the gas. Do you even send it for servicing? Did you all do the servicing?
Cleaning your toilet.
Clean your toilet. Yeah.
Maintenance work.
Correct. Yeah. It really is a lifelong journey. Self-work. To be able to live a life of personal mastery. Yeah.
And mastery itself, is also can be, it is also ego trap. People use that as a label to identify themselves with. But how can you say that you're a master of something when you reach, okay, let's agree.
Okay, what?
You can say that you reach a certain state of mastery, a certain level of mastery.
Yes.
When you reach the peak of one mountain.
Correct.
But in Chinese, there's a saying called 一山比一山高.
Yes,
which means there's always a higher mountain for you to climb.
That's right.
So why are you settling down at that peak when there are other peaks for you to climb and to achieve in your life?
Yeah.
It is a way of life. Mastery is a way of life. Mastery is not a title or label. And I think people need to really get that out because, it creates a lot of stigmas around that title. Right? These days, there's a lot of false gurus and masters.
Yes, correct.
But those are just titles. It's an defecation, whereas what we're
Yeah.
talking about is a whole process.
Correct. Am I in the process of
Mastering
my
myself.
life, mastering myself? Yes.
We're talking about that. We're talking about practicing, your sword every day.
Yeah.
Did you polish your sword? Did you practice your move correctly? All the posture, the feet position, the hand
Yeah.
position.
That's true. I think that's a good place for people to pause and let them reflect on that part. Yeah.
Okay. Let's get more water.
Yeah. I'm excited to talk about the next thing.
Tell me.
Okay, so the next thing is this idea of how simple or how deep can self-awareness work, inner work, personal development work go. I think when I think about simple, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna journal, I'm gonna reflect, right? But then, but to me, that is so like I will use what you said earlier, baby boo boo.
Baby boo boo.
Yeah, what should it actually be? What should people strive for? Like I want people to have a sense or an impression of how deep you can really go.
How do I answer such a question? How deep you can go?
Because I think that people are always looking for like examples, right? Or looking for like some kind of reference or story that will resonate with them. And then maybe hopefully, because even though yes, we are all in denial and people deny things.
Supreme denial.
Yeah, right. There is the inner voice that is actually going like, please give me some hope, or please give me an example that will help my inner voice to go, yes, I can finally break free from my trap or my.
Well, they can follow the podcast until they decided that they want to break the
actually,
denial.
and actually clean their toilet, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So if that is a bit of a
I think it really
Yeah.
begins with, the small things you do in life. Every time we talk about being greatness,
yes.
people will think about doing all the grand things, But sometimes it is as simple as, chopping wood, carry your water.
Okay.
It's about as simple as folding your bed when you wake up every morning and making your
Yeah.
bed and keeping your bedroom clean
Okay.
and not in a mess
Okay.
and cleaning your toilet.
Mm.
You shit in a toilet. I think you should invest in cleaning your toilet, really.
Yeah.
Get the right equipment, go and refurnish your toilet to make it really look like it's a place where you want to stay there for 1 or 2 hours. Why should the toilet, the architecture, the design of the toilet itself, be always
like
it's
so-
like an afterthought.
Mm.
Only when you settle the living room, every other space, then you think about the toilet. But the toilet is so important. That's the place where
Yeah.
you shower. That's the place where
where-
you take dumps, all
yes,
that.
that's right.
And obviously, it needs high maintenance.
Because it's the one receiving all the negative shit, all the bad stuff. Yeah.
So the problem with most people is that they want to be glamorous. They chase after all the pretty bling bling things,
yes.
but they don't want to do the real work. The real work is what is the work that people don't want to do.
Yeah.
And usually the things that you don't want to do is what keeps you at where you are.
Yeah. Yes. That's very true.
If you look at people who are wealthy, they
Yeah.
tend to do the things that most people don't want to do.
Oh, yeah.
Trade secret from working with these people.
Yeah.
So my point is this, it begins with you stepping off your comfort zone. Again, we're talking about comfort. Again,
Yeah.
we're talking about attachment.
yeah, I really
You stepping off your comfort.
right. It's so hard. Yeah, you can't escape. those
What's
things.
hard?
No, I think it's so hard. I would say it's so hard to escape from this topic because that's so core to how we are.
No, it's actually easy. You just need to stop avoiding your shit and deal with your fucking shit. You created an issue, fix it, solve it, make sure the issue is not there. Learn the lesson, move on. Whatever you don't learn,
We'll repeat.
we'll keep on repeating.
Yeah.
Because it is a way of, spirit of source telling you, say, hey, you need to look at this now, wake up.
Correct.
Why do you need to only change when weird shit starts happening in your life, crisis starts happening in
Yeah.
your life, when you can make a choice at any moment to let it go?
Yeah. That's true. Because in the moment, if it's already there, or not even about things something
Every moment is
Yeah.
a second chance to turn things all around. Every
Yes.
moment counts. You don't even know whether you can live up to tomorrow. So why don't you make today count? Why don't you do what matters to you instead of keep putting yourself secondary and then come up with a narrative called, oh, you always have to live for other people, not for yourself, when you're the one perpetuating and you're the one taking action based on your own programming. So what does awareness do? Awareness gives you the freedom to be able to say, hey, I'm about to do this again. Let me stop right now. Let me make a different choice.
Yes.
That is what awareness is about. Awareness can be cultivated.
Correct.
And the stronger your awareness, the more expanded and more heightened your awareness, the more you can maneuver. The more you can see, the more you can experience. It's not like those experiences were not there. It is always there, but you're so limited to this little tiny map.
Yeah.
So that's all you can experience, whereas the world is like that.
Correct.
So the
way
question
bigger.
is, why do you keep choosing your limitation? Death is painful,
Yes.
but death is what brings life, new life.
So limitations.
If you
need to
don't give
die.
up your addiction, you don't give up your patterns,
Yeah.
how can you expect anything to be different if you don't change?
Yeah.
Is it going to be painful? Yeah, but the pain is imaginary pain. It is so real psychologically. It's so real. I get it. The pain is so
Yeah.
real that many people can't get past their edges.
Correct.
The defenses will all come up. But
Yeah.
that's what keeps you there. You have spent your entire life building a system around this limitation.
Yes.
Naturally, when anything tries to threaten this particular boundary,
It will push back. It will.
all your
React,
system
yeah.
will start activating.
Correct.
But that's part of how, that's the kind of stuff that we need to deal with. We need to start undoing them.
Yeah.
So the more we undo them, the more your world begin to
Expand.
expand.
Yeah.
Your world begin to expand incongruent and in alignment to the size of the world. In other words, it's about you becoming the person that you can become.
So if I follow this conversation, right, there is a listening an individual needs to have to themselves, where they must begin to be able to identify and separate what is, let's say, a voice or an idea that is created because of limitations, because of the false illusions, things that you stay attached to, versus maybe there's this other thought that goes, maybe I could have tried something different. Maybe I can live differently. Maybe I need to fix this relationship. Maybe I need to do this correct thing. And it is in that moment where they have to choose one versus the other. And when we complain about our suffering, our stuckness, because we keep choosing our suffering. We keep choosing the limited
You're reinforcing
experience.
that narrative.
Yeah.
Why? I don't understand. It means you enjoy your suffering.
Yes.
Why do you keep your suffering? Because you enjoy it. Otherwise, why do you keep doing the same shit that's causing you so much pain and harm?
Yeah.
It's because you're getting something out from it.
Correct. You know, even this thing you just said, right, is so difficult for some people to really get.
It's difficult because they
Yeah.
make it so difficult.
Yeah.
But it's because that's part of their programming. That's why they are used so much. It's part of the conditions that they
Correct.
grew up in. What
Yes.
their environment is built upon.
Yeah.
Nothing in life is easy or difficult. It is what it is.
That needs to be said one more time also. Nothing in life is difficult.
Or easy.
Or
It
easy,
is what
but
it
it
is. Get the differentiation between a personal opinion
Versus
versus,
actuality.
yeah, it's like there's a distinction between reality and actuality.
Correct.
Reality is what is real to you.
Yes.
You might think it's difficult, but to some other people it is easy.
Yeah, that's
But
right.
in actuality, it's totally different.
Yeah. It's neither of those things. It just
So how do you know
is.
something really works? How do you know you have really changed in inner world? When you can begin to create a totally different external reality that you never had.
Correct.
So actually, would you like to share about your breakthrough?
Yes. When you talk about that, like, yeah, that is the reality. So, like, for example, my reality for the longest
That is
time.
actuality.
Yeah. So I share the reality first, then I move to the actuality.
Got it.
So my reality first is, I'm the fat kid. I'm the one who's overweight. I'm the one who's depressed. I'm the one who always, exercise is so difficult, right? I'm the pui kia the whole way. And that really
Pukia means fat kid.
yeah for those who don't speak Hokkien, right? And that really did manifest itself, in my reality, right? Yeah, 123 kilograms. But then today, I am a healthier 91 kilograms. I lost over 30 kg.
In how many weeks?
In, I guess you can say months, like in about 3 to 4 months, you know.
When you've been having this...
When I struggled with this for almost 2 to 3 years, right? Going into COVID, into circuit breaker, kind of jump-started some kind of accelerated program within me that had me kept needing to, you know, I don't know. It's definitely some compensation for something, 100%. Yeah. And I still could not stop. Or at least I told myself I could not stop. So until we worked together and I really kind of like looked at what it really is, right? And the ability to see it for what it really is, then now I had a chance to make a choice, a different choice. Yeah. And I think till today, even though I know what I did, it still amazes me that the weight dropped off so fast. Because one lesson that I kind of received was that things that are not meant for you will leave you the minute you choose to stop holding on to them. Because at some warped level, I think I was holding on to the weight. You know? Yeah. Protection, comfort, whatever you want to call it, right? When I am putting physical flesh and fat between me and the rest of the world, something is definitely going on, for sure. Yeah. So being able to see that, and once I understood that and acknowledged it, suddenly I didn't need that anymore. The walls of fat and protection naturally just kind of like, okay, it's time for us to go, which is quite amazing. Yeah.
It's like, you put two person, give them the same routine, same things. I mean, losing weight, exercising, running, keeping to a certain diligence.
Yeah.
How come one person can actually lose weight, the other person couldn't keep up? It's really because something inside shifted.
Yes, correct.
So that was the thing that you experienced as you shared, when you realize that you no longer need to hold on to those security
correct.
that, you kind of created for yourself in your psyche.
Yes. Exactly. That what you just said is important. It's in my psyche, right? So in our psyche, we actually create all these attachments, we create all these beliefs, and we make it our identity, and then we manifest them. Yeah.
So of course the thing is, I mean, given how we're talking, so some people will begin to also say that it's all in the mind. If you can think about it, you can change it.
Yeah.
But if that's the case, then how come, certain people wasn't able to change?
Correct.
Despite, prolonged, habits, prolonged time of having those negative habits that they tried to do something about it, but they kind of lose their will.
Yes.
But it's really because there's something at a deeper level.
Yeah.
And you must recognize that you have this thing called blind spots. You don't see the world for what the world is. You see the world for who you are and what you are.
Correct.
Which is the fundamental thing why most people end up in misunderstandings, because we think that we're right.
Yes.
Because you think that you're right, of course you're gonna do everything to defend your
Rightness.
your ego. But that's exactly what leads to people downfall. That leads to destroying relationships.
Because
Why
of that
can't-
insistence.
Why can't we be open? Why can't we allow ourselves to be open by saying, by being able to put down our ego and really examine things for what they are?
Yeah.
Why
Versus what we
do-
want them to be.
Yeah, why do you create so much suffering for yourself?
Yeah. That's
When-
very true.
That's why I think, we need a guide, we need a teacher.
Yes.
Somebody who can point out our blind spots, somebody who can work through our issues.
Correct.
And it is important, very important, to find the right one
Yes.
who aligns with our values, who's being able to have the integrity and the courage, to call out the wrongs and
Correct.
to correct the rights. Very important. It is not about the label. It is not about how great you look.
Yeah.
You can look really good with all the attire, all the whole facade, but if you're shit inside, you're shit.
Yeah.
Clean your shit up.
That's right. Yeah. I suddenly thought about how this was an old lesson from my mom. She talked about how she chooses who she gives feedback to. Yeah, I never understood. Like, if this person has created a mistake in your workplace, why would you not tell them how to fix the mistake? At some level, she said, like, when I tell someone their mistake, it's because I care for them and I want them to grow, right? And I think back then she said, so if I'm angry with a person or I don't like the person, I purposely don't tell them, right? And then that's how they don't grow. Today, when I reflect back on this lesson, I see how there are two sides of that, which is when we want people to grow, we care for them, we tell them what's real and what is their mistake. But at the same time, the other half now, when I reflect on her statement, is also how it's part of her ego as well, right? Like to want to hurt someone by not giving them the feedback or telling them the truth because of that anger or that upset. Yeah. But I think the lesson still stands that a teacher who really cares will be willing to say what is hard to hear or what is difficult to accept, because that's what is being seen, you know? Yeah.
I have a lot of great teachers who was a great role model to me, who emulate, the values, So as a result of that, I think I can be able to, I can stand into that role to support my students and my clients. And it is so important to be able to call out the wrongs and to correct them.
Yeah.
Some people know that they're doing the wrong thing and they keep on doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Because it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Because whatever, you may think that there's no consequence, there's always consequence.
Yeah.
You end up losing yourself, you end up betraying yourself. And if you end up betraying yourself, over time you're going to start creating betrayal as a pattern in your life, where either you dream into betrayers into your life as a role, or you start doing it to other people. But you're the one perpetuating your patterns. You're the one creating more karma for yourself. Why? Why do that when really realize karma is it's not just a spiritual lingo. It means cause and effect. Whatever you do, there's a cause and effect. Newton's third law.
Yeah. For every action,
there's an equal amount of reaction force.
Yeah, that's right.
And yeah,
that's very true. Sometimes I then wonder, how do we help people get started on this journey?
I think you can't really help people to get started on this journey. They must have the willingness to want to help themselves.
So it's like a invitation or creating a...
Well, we can create an invitation, like a portal of opening.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they have to realize whatever they are doing is not serving them. The high dream must have collapsed into their low dream. Either the high dream is important or the low dream is important.
I see.
So the thing is, what makes us wake up every day? Because there's an unfulfilled dream of ours.
Okay.
That keep us alive, that keep us, wanting to breathe, that keep us wanting to pursue something.
Yes.
And if we just follow our body, it should be able to guide us.
Yes.
The problem is we think that we're following our body, we're following here, your head, your ego, the noises in your head. I'm talking about your body symptoms.
Yeah.
Like, for example, you walk into a room and then, there are rashes that starts appearing in your body. What's that about? Tune into it. Let me breathe into it.
Yeah.
And see what unfolds.
Yeah. What's the message there?
What's the message there? Or what is my body? What's my skin trying to tell me? Maybe it's clearing energy, but it's quite an overgeneralization to say it's clearing energy.
Yeah,
we know clearly you're healing something.
Correct.
But what does it mean? Therefore, I think we need to demystify this whole thing around healing, around spirituality.
Yes.
We are all spiritual beings having a human experience in this body, in this shell.
Correct.
Yeah, lor. So,
but some people are always so quick to, fight against these notions of spirituality or these other ways of understanding themselves. And sometimes I personally feel sometimes I feel a bit frustrated, but at the same time I also understand that then maybe it is just not time for them, or it's not because they won't be able to see it, or they don't want to see it. Right?
Then that's their choice lah.
Yeah.
So don't have to take it too personally lah. Once you really realize it. Took me a while to get this lesson, not to take things too personally, because it's never about you, it's about them.
Correct. I think one thing that was very inspiring through this journey that I've going on as well, right, is the notion that we choose our experiences and we choose
our experiences, we choose our life.
Right. The lie is that sometimes we assume or we think that we did not choose, right?
That's why you blame, you feel miserable, and you act according to it. But once you realize you are the creator of your reality, whether you like it or not, whether the situation is favorable to you or not, then you realize that you can't escape your own fate, because everything is your own doing, which means that you can always correct it, you can always change. We are the master of our reality. Remember that.
Yes. So the reason why I started to speak about this, right, is when I want to share for those listeners who maybe can understand what I'm going to share. I was trying to figure out, so what did I choose for this life? What did I really choose at my soul level, right? And then when I said this sentence, right, I said, I think I chose to experience what it's like to overcome great despair in this life. And when I said that sentence out, suddenly all my hair stand and I had all a reaction.
Just look at this. My hair is standing when you say that.
So if I follow the teachings of like, how does the body give you clues? How does the body give you a message or a confirmation? Then when I meditate on this statement and I follow my body, I'm like, oh my goodness, what a choice I have made. But it also then helped me to understand. Maybe that's why I go through the challenges I go through the, whatever mind fuckery that I do, because that is also part of the process.
It also means that there's a higher knowing. It also means that they are your higher self. It also means that, even though you might not understand why you make those choices, can you trust?
Yeah.
Can you trust that there's a divine order? Can you trust that everything will be okay?
Yes.
Provided you pass your exams.
Correct.
The trials, that you're being faced.
Oh my goodness. And yes.
It's really that simple. What if our soul is just here to experience life, the life that we chose? To fulfill the contracts that we have agreed upon and signed up for right before we were born.
Yeah.
Then there's no such thing as mistakes anymore or errors. There's only lessons.
Correct. Exactly.
Great lessons. Great lessons.
Yeah.
Super great lessons. They help you to accelerate your development. So what's the start and what's the end? Did the chicken come first or did the egg come first? It's really the kind of conversation we're talking about.
Correct.
And if you were to ask me, where's the proof?
Yes.
Then go and
look
for. Then go and look for the information. Don't just sit down there and be a cynic. Go out there and look for answers. Go and study with different teachers around the world. Go and see what's out there in the world.
Yeah.
Don't be too quick to criticize. Don't be too quick to judge. Not everything you find in Google or internet is really what it is.
Yes.
Exactly. After all, it's a marketing technique. And once you understand that everything has a place by itself, then you realize that the more you're going to do your work, and sometimes doing your work means get out of your fucking sofa.
Yeah.
Get out of your house. Go out there and look for the answers. But don't be a cynic. Don't be there to make comments when you didn't even do your work. You have not even earned your right to comment.
Yes, correct. There's so many keyboard warriors, so many people who are behind
keyboard
that screen,
warriors
typing
who
all the
think
time.
that they know the word better, but if they know the word better, what the fuck are they hiding behind the keyboard?
Yeah.
They should be out there.
Living their life.
Making their voice heard. Maybe
Yeah.
Maybe that's all they think they are. But, maybe there's more to them. I like to believe that, we can make a different choice to be bigger than who we are.
Yeah, I agree.
So, be really good at what you do. Really, you're going to find that thing for yourself. What is it that you're meant to do? And sometimes whatever you're good to do doesn't mean that you're meant to do that.
Correct.
But isn't that interesting? But once you understand the whole thing about that we make choices, whether you realize it or not,
yes,
it changes the whole outlook of the world.
Yes.
What if we don't meet people in our life by chance? What if we already chose them a long time ago?
Yes, and that's why they are entering our life
at whatever part of our life.
Correct.
So that we can clear the karma or learn certain lessons.
Yes.
So once you understand that, then there's nothing called accidents. There's no coincidence.
And there's no surprise.
And the world is always talking to us synchronicities, following the body, messages are everywhere. What more you want?
Yeah.
What more you want?
Wow, what more you want?
What more do you want? If you follow your body and you do your work, you will be where you're at. So what's more to be unsatisfied or unfulfilled? Come from your inner self, because you can't find the peace in you. Why do you want peace? Because you're not at peace.
Correct.
Why do you want something? Because you don't have that. But when you have all these things, you realize that
there's actually no.
You realize how fragile life really is, and there's no need for one thing.
Yeah.
There's just experience. So of course, on one hand, you might feel sympathy or pity towards certain people. But what if I'm saying they also chose the experience?
Yeah, that's right.
That everybody has a role, and there's nothing. What makes you believe that just because you're a CEO of a company, you are more dignified than the cleaner on the street?
Yeah.
The cleaner on the street is doing their role, is fulfilling their role. But what if that was what they chose in their lifetime to learn and to experience that? So who are we to judge, to say that you are more than this person, you're less than this person? That's a judgment.
Yeah.
To say that you're more, you're less. But whether you're more or less, it comes from the framework of you're not enough.
Correct.
And
that's
you're
how we
just
create the
perpetuating
ranks.
things. And of course, you are not enough. Why would you be satisfied? You will pick relationship that will make you feel you're not enough, or the other person will not be enough for you.
Yeah.
It's a toxic patterns
Yeah.
that keep repeating like a cycle.
Correct.
And that needs to be broken. How do we break that? Awareness. Begin to realize that you're dreaming somebody else into the role.
Yes.
Begin to realize you're playing that in the role. Awareness. What can you do? You can stop yourself before it happens.
Yeah.
Maybe now you can catch yourself within 10 minutes. Maybe you time yourself. It gets shorter and shorter over time.
Correct.
So eventually, it's not going to affect you because you can break the pattern by yourself, by your will.
Yeah.
So the importance of will, you must realize you have free will.
Mm.
And the choices that you make come from you, including the negative one that you keep wanting to deny.
Yes.
You create your own reality. Remember that.
Yeah. I think that statement goes very, very deep, and it's something that everyone needs to really meditate on or reflect on.
What's there to meditate?
Yeah, I suddenly said the word meditate.
What's there to meditate?
Yeah.
What's there to reflect on?
Correct. I suddenly
You
realized,
create your own reality.
Yeah.
Your parents should have taught you that.
Yeah. I think then maybe that's a clue to talk about the next topic, which is like, why do so many people do meditation?
I make a very sweeping statement. I say that, your parents taught you that. That's a sweeping statement because I do know of people, who wasn't privileged enough, to grow up in a certain environment. Yeah, I also want to say that, despite all the sufferings that they went through, maybe it took about 40 years or 50 years or 70 years or 80 years before they realized that was part of their soul contract that they chose those experiences. In other words, you might think that your life is pathetic, miserable, or suffering right now. And I'm saying that at some level, you have chosen it.
Yeah.
You just have not remembered them. But once you begin to remember them, you will start having the enlightened experience to realize that everything happened for a reason.
Yes.
You chose them. You just didn't remember that you chose them. And just because you don't remember you chose them doesn't mean you didn't choose them.
Would it be a case where if, let's say, someone remembers that they really did choose to suffer in this current lifetime, right?
It's not a suffer, because if you realize that you chose it, there's no suffering anymore. Suffering is when you keep bitching about it. Why does it keep happening to you? Why does it keep happening? Why does it keep happening to you? That whole nonsense, But really, it hits you, ouch.
Yeah.
That's it. The pin stop.
Yeah.
You have a reaction called ouch, and then move on.
Okay.
There's no holding on to the pain.
I see. So the suffering is the holding on part.
Correct.
Right? And
which comes from attachment.
Yes.
Therefore, you are the cause of your own suffering. Therefore, you are also the liberator of your own suffering. The problem with people is that instead of realizing they're the liberator of suffering, they are looking outwards for a person who can free them.
Yeah, some savior, some
savior complex, but you're
solution.
dreaming that person into a savior figure.
Yeah.
But that's why the relationship won't work out. And when it doesn't work out, you start pointing finger at that person and say that
It's your fault.
that person
you
did this to you, did that to you.
me,
But you're the one that dream. You're just finding each other to fit into your own little puzzle. Just as that person is looking for people to save, you are looking for somebody to save you. It's a match. It's a compatibility match. Correct. So how can you say that it's the other person's entirely issue? I'm saying that both parties got issue.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, that makes sense. So what would the world look like if everyone were able to
become
acknowledge,
responsible for their reality?
Yeah, for one, become responsible.
I think the world wouldn't have a lot of those issues.
Yeah, the
we wouldn't be
wars,
abusing we wouldn't be abusing power, there wouldn't be wars.
Yeah. Inequality
will be resolved, because it's not about fair or not fair. It's that you created that circumstances. Inequality doesn't just happen in a relationship because one person is earning more than the other person. Inequality happens because of the ranks that we carry, and it plays out unconsciously in our daily interactions.
Yes.
And just because you carry those ranks, and you keep using that ranks in a relationship, that will end up the death of that relationship. It's a very complex subject. We can spend 3 days or 5 days talking about it
Unpacking the
and
concept of
working on
ranks
it.
in relationship, right?
Ranks in relationship, inequality. Most relationship die because of inequality that plays out in a romantic.
Oh, I'm writing this down because it's important.
Cool.
Yeah. I love how as we speak we are generating like even more
ideas.
topics, more ideas. Yeah. Right now my headspace is really just trying so hard to imagine what will a world be like if everyone was really responsible and really, aware of their shit essentially.
And I
then clean
guess
that
that
shit.
was the word I saw when I was 21, which made me decided to do what I do. And it really began with that altruism, instead of myself, that I want to make a difference to the world. I want to help people.
Yeah.
I want to help then eventually as I help people, I realized that, I begin to realize, what is real and what is not.
Yes.
And of course, the dream was way bigger than the doing,
Correct.
which kept me going.
Yeah. Because that's how that's the first principle, right? The dream has to be bigger than us. That's what makes us wake up every day to do the dream, right?
So I asked myself this question: what would happen if everybody were to be responsible? You can say it's ideal.
Yeah.
It's ideal, and that brings a lot of fulfillment, and that keeps me going, wanting to make a difference to people, which led me to study with different teachers and masters around the world. And when I say masters, as I say, it's not a label. I'm talking about people who have already mastered themselves. They are pioneers, in whatever they do. They created certain tags.
Have you heard some of their high dreams?
It's pretty coherent.
It's quite coherent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So is it something to remember, or is something to just?
Well, I think it begins with you remembering your dreams every night when you sleep.
Oh.
It begins with you being aware and conscious of what is happening around you, the messages from the world.
Yeah.
When something flirt with you, maybe it's that toy. As we are having a podcast,
Yeah.
the thing that's been flirting with you. Can you pass me the book, The Extended Mind?
This one? Okay.
Yeah, this book was flirting with my awareness. That's why I keep turning my head down there. It's pretty dusty. It's called The Extended Mind, The Power of Thinking Outside the Brain by Annie Murphy Paul. So there's something about this book, that's been flirting with me. So if I was to really use this, to really just think about it, and ask myself a question, around awareness, what is it about the book that's flirting with me? The color and the word, the extended mind. And why does it flow with me if I were to just look into it? Because that's exactly what we're doing in the podcast. We're trying to expand people's mind.
Yes.
We're trying to show them, there's a way to extend their consciousness, to extend their everything.
Yeah.
Literally, because once you realize you are not your job, you're not your relationship, but they are just one small aspect, you realize how big the world is.
Correct.
And naturally, you can't settle down for less than you are.
Yeah.
So why do you settle down? You settle down because collectively, people have been using the word called settle down.
Yeah.
So naturally, I'm not sure. Tell me how you feel about this. The moment we talk about marriage, there's a subconscious thing that's running at the background called settling down.
Correct.
But what the fuck? The moment you settle down, it means both people stop growing.
Correct. It's stagnancy.
It's stagnant.
It's a stoppage.
Stagnant
right?
means death because we live in a world of entropy.
Correct.
Where things are always going down.
Exactly.
So how can you be stagnant? What if a marriage is a partnership where both people climb to the peak together?
That's what it should be. Or
And
that's
I
what I
think-
think a lot of people believe they are in.
Which means you have to be able to be so conscious not to fall into the role of settling down, because in the dreaming, there's this thing called settling down. So at one level, we're working on a relationship issue. On another level, we're also working on a world issue. Because we're dealing with the consciousness, the unconsciousness forces or unconsciousness.
Of this thing called
that
settling
makes
down.
correct. That makes people automatically just jump into those roles.
Yeah.
And I think, that's what we're really doing. We're trying to get people to break free, trying to teach people ways to break free. So I think the purpose of the podcast itself, besides just education and entertainment purpose itself, is to really allow people to expand their awareness through, all this conversation and the work that we do. And in building the awareness, they're able to do something for themselves.
Yeah.
Because I think, at the stage that we're at, we're really doing this as a way to give back a
Correct.
service,
Exactly.
and that's the work that we're really putting out there.
There's this notion, right? When because we've been talking about this settling down thing,
Yeah.
I always wonder, right? What? Okay, and then this one maybe I'm speaking out of rank.
Sure.
Okay, but I always have this notion. What would it be like in my own dreaming, right? To hit a level of mastery and then to hit the point of my journey that I go, it is time to go to retire in a small countryside hut and live a simple life.
But that's a narrative. That's a narrative that somebody sold to you called financial freedom, called retirement itself.
Okay.
That you must work very hard.
In order to
Look, that's a narrative to
hit
keep
a
people in
rest.
the 9 to 5.
I
That's a
see.
narrative to keep people work hard for the economy.
So then how do we...
So that there's something to look forward to. So that there's a carrot at the end.
I see.
And the carrot call, you can do whatever you want. But is that really true? Look at the cost of your relationship. What did you lose? Look at why do you need
Peace
50
or
years?
settle down or
Why do you need 50 years to work your ass off for
off
somebody
to-
else and then to settle down and then to retire to buy a house? Why can't you do that in the next few months?
Okay.
I want to challenge that notion a little bit because
Yeah.
you think that it has to happen years later. I'm saying that it's about now. You don't even know whether you're going to live up to then.
Yes.
So why do you have so much certainty
About this
about this whole thing?
future, right?
About this whole thing about future, living the future. I'm talking about now time. What are you going to do about it? Every moment is a second chance to turn things all around. What are you going to do? You're not happy with your life. What are you going to change? You're not happy with your relationship. What do you need to clean up?
Yeah.
I'm talking about now.
Correct.
Now.
Yeah. Now. Everyone is stuck either
In the future,
or in the
or
past. Yeah.
They're still holding on to their past glories, all that stuff. Future worry, anxiety.
Yeah.
Worrying about the future, anxiety. It creates a lot of issues.
Correct.
But all these issues come from perspective.
That's right.
You
Yeah,
don't really
it
need
just is-
medication, do you?
Yeah.
If you can just pull yourself back into the now time and realize what is happening.
So then all this...
That's the work now that we do, no? In the
Yeah.
work.
And suddenly when you talk about the medicine part, I'm like, wow, there's so many illnesses of today that actually can be resolved.
There's a lot of social disease.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yes, social disease.
Social disease is also a disease, isn't it?
Yeah.
People need to wear Gucci all over their body to tell the
People
whole
that they
world
got status,
that
got rich.
they have rank,
Yeah.
their status, all that. But if you're really rich, why do you need the whole world to know?
True.
It's nobody's business or besides your business,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So why are you so eager to prove to the world that you're something? I think that's more important to look at. Could it be because that you felt that you were not enough
It feels
as you were
like
growing
it,
up?
I'm sure.
And right now you're just compensating it.
But
But the more you do that, the more you extend the whole inequality.
yes,
Because you're doing onto somebody else what somebody did to you a long time ago, and you're repropagating that narrative in your
Correct.
own world
yeah.
and in the world out there.
So it's almost like the disease is spreading, right?
So the
Yeah.
game begins with you being able to make a choice to say, you know what, I'm breaking the pattern now.
Yeah.
I'm making a choice now to fix my shit. Yes, you have caused issues, all that, but you can make a choice. You can always get out.
Yeah. That's right.
But once you really get it, it changes your approach in relationship. You know that relationship is not about holding another person
Yeah.
in that relationship,
Mm.
but it has everything got to do with accountability, ownership, responsibility,
Correct.
commitment.
Yeah.
I'm my commitment. I am committed to my mastery and not my feelings. Feelings are fleeting.
Yeah.
Feelings are changing. They're
Yes.
fluid.
All the time.
Emotions come from the past residue of the baggages that you carry with you.
Yeah.
Heal it. Do the work. That's what inner work is about. It's about being able to make a change now.
Yeah.
So if you practice it every day, you're going to find a challenge. And that's why you have to do classes. You have to keep on working on
it.
shit to
Yeah,
clean shit. It's
that's
not
right.
about how many classes you attend. It's not about
It's-
whether you attend a course or program. It's
Yeah.
about making it into a daily thing.
Yes. That's
But
right.
you're going to start somewhere because you have no idea how to do it. And even if you're doing it, how do you know you're doing it right?
Yes.
It's the same thing as practicing a samurai sword.
Correct.
How do you know you're swinging the katana really properly?
You need a sensei
You need
to...
a sensei to be able to guide
That's
you.
right.
And then you do it every day. You do it every day
Yeah.
until you make it into your way of life. So people can spend a lot of money buying Gucci, LV, all that stuff,
Yes.
but they didn't spend enough on their inner work. They don't clean
Correct.
up their shit.
Yeah, or they attend a lot of motivational class or some rah feel good thing.
Yeah, rah feel good thing will never last because you are still, you know,
Yes.
leveraging the energy from the outside. You
Correct.
know.
Yeah, it's
But
an external source.
It's an
not your
internal source.
internal thing.
We're talking about your core, your source, you know, who you are at the core.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow. I feel like I'm revisiting topics that I thought I knew, but actually there's a new... The doing it every day is important, right? The It's not enough to just know it as like a...
Knowing
good to
is
know.
knowing is
Yeah.
one thing, but can you apply into your actually? Can you create an actuality?
reality that reflects this knowing.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And most
Yeah.
people think they know something, but
Correct.
the action doesn't show that. Thinking is one thing, but feeling and doing is a whole different thing. Throw your trash, really.
Yeah, clean the toilet.
Throw your trash, clean your system. What happens if you have a blockage?
Clear it. Push
Clear
through
it.
it. Get rid of it. Yeah.
Of course, it's something you have to hire a plumber, right?
Yes.
That's why there's this thing called plumber.
Yes. That's why a plumber
Plumb the
exists. Yes. Yeah.
When you get choked,
You need to get... And sometimes you need specialized tools
you
to
have
really
to, you have to get a
push
super
through.
long tool.
Yeah, sometimes you need the high pressure spray, the nozzle thing that helps to clear the
I'm
blockage.
saying that different of these tools are used differently in different situations. So it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. It's not about
Correct.
modeling you and molding you into somebody.
Yeah,
It's about you becoming the person you were always meant to be.
yeah,
And it comes from doing your work. It comes from cleaning your shit. It comes from
Yeah.
healing yourself from your past,
that's right.
so that you're no longer holding on to those attachments and you can be in the now time.
Yeah,
And when you're in the now time, you can make a different choice to create a different reality and future for yourself. In other words, it gives you options.
yes, correct. To live a different life, to make different choices.
Not the path of a default direction that you always
Yeah.
do, but you can make a different choice.
Correct. So it's actually one big journey for sure. The just a while ago, the analogy we talked about how you have to have a plumber and then you have to do there are different ways to clear a blockage.
Yeah.
Brought to mind like all the different personal development things that are out there in the world, right? My opinion is that it's okay for people to go and explore and go and try and find and figure out.
You have to explain.
Yeah.
You have to
Yeah.
figure things out, because
Yeah.
if you don't go through the fake stuff, how are you gonna how are you gonna recognize the real deal?
Correct. Yes. Right. So then
It's part of the journey.
so the thing that I think I am cautious about is when people get stuck with one, and suddenly they make that modality their whole reality.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
my teachers will always say this: go and look for other teachers. Same as what I tell my students, go and experience different things,
Yes.
so that you have the data to make sense of yourself.
Correct.
What's real and what is
Yeah.
not.
Do that work, right? Because
It's part of doing your work.
Yeah.
Okay, that's part of the journey itself, doing your work.
Yeah. So then I think at least as a communication, it
If
will
you
be-
start off with the real deal,
yeah,
then good for you.
correct. But if let's say you needed to go through a few, then fine. That's also part of the experience.
That's part of the journey.
Yeah.
Otherwise, how you recognize the real deal?
Correct.
The problem with people who go to the real deal right away, they can't tell that they are the real deal.
Oh,
Creates a different issue.
yeah, correct. It's a different issue.
So it takes a lot of discernment, it takes a lot of recognition, and that comes from you being able to recognize yourself.
Recognizing
You're gonna be
yourself.
real to yourself in order to realize who is real to you, right?
Yeah. Oh, that reminds me, right? So like for instance, I've experienced people who can in one moment claim that they had an amazing experience, they learned all these things, then suddenly just a few days or even a few hours later, some old programming come back in and then they suddenly go, nah, that was all bull, or that was all bullshit. And then they choose back their old reality, right? Even though they did see and touch actuality. I was like, what? Okay. Yeah. So even that is something to be expected from human beings. I would
And that can be
imagine.
worked on as well. Because clearly there's some edges around the actuality versus what they experience versus
Yeah.
their past. It's
Correct.
too big of a jump.
I see.
So there's a way to actually work around that.
So even though they might have seen it momentarily, the jump was too big and they choose the easier way to just come.
Not easy way, because if you have been doing something
used to it. They are
used to it,
conditioned
then
to it.
naturally they will fall back there.
Understand.
Because that's so natural.
correct.
Because they can't visualize a life when they are there and how to move forward.
I see.
And that's why that's part of the work we need to do. Besides healing and resolving all those issues,
Yeah.
we need to start working on your actuality. We need to work on the application.
Yeah. Creating new actualities.
I mean,
that
some people
actually
call it
align.
manifestation work, which
Yeah.
is true as well. They're
Mm.
all this different lingo. They're all, yeah,
It alludes to the same thing, right? It's
it
about
looks the same thing.
understanding.
Except that, we need to deliberately work on the edge. That's an edge.
Mm.
And the jump is really, to certain people, is really quite big. They can't imagine a life without their old patterns.
Yeah.
That's why they have to choose their old patterns. And of course, if they choose their old pattern, they have to justify why.
Why they're choosing their old pattern.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then, of course, lies,
Yeah.
deceptions, self-deceive, all that
Correct.
comes in.
Yeah.
Stories, narrative they made up.
Correct. So then, yeah, it's to make their choice right, make their choice more real, etc. How you want to
It's like-
describe it.
In order to be right, you have to make everything else wrong.
Yes, yeah, I've seen that as well.
So why do you need to be right in the first place?
yeah.
What has this got to do with rightness?
Mm.
We're not talking about what is right, but we're talking
Yeah.
about your ego right kind
Yeah,
of here.
correct. We're talking about what is actually happening versus what you keep wanting to happen.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's cool. How are you feeling now?
Feeling a little bit stuffy. How are you
Oh.
feeling now?
I'm feeling okay in terms of the environment.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's more about like, so then what would you like to talk about next? I think that's the question on my mind.
What do you want to ask me?
I still feel like very connected to the notions of like finding a teacher, and then also around separation work, right? I feel like I want to talk a little bit about how to help people begin to see what is them versus what is not them. Maybe we want to give some examples. I have some ideas around that. Yeah, so it's around the concept of separation work, and then how like the body also can help them. Yeah. So for me, that's what I feel like people need to be educated about.
Okay, so what's the question?
So the question is, how does the body help you raise your awareness? So like for me, earlier I shared an example about the tingling, right?
Your body doesn't help you raise your awareness because your body has always been there. It's the awareness of your
Of the
body,
body.
allow you
Oh.
to be able to understand what's going on.
Also, I had it the other way around. It's the awareness of the body.
The awareness of the body.
Okay.
So of course, the more you pay attention, the more you're aware to your body symptom, whatever your body is experiencing,
Yeah.
the more consciously you're able to start forming a connection of a different pathway to operate in this world. Most of the time in the world that you are in, they focus a lot on your mental,
Yeah.
but they don't focus anything about emotions or your physical body.
Yes. That's
So
right.
you don't really quite understand what your body is actually feedback to you. The problem is because
Yes.
you are not trained
Correct.
and you are not paying attention to your own self, you keep ignoring it. That's a form of abusing your body.
Oh, really?
I mean, abuse, the word
Yes.
abuse comes from the word abuse.
Yeah.
A-B-U-S-E.
Absent use?
Absent use.
Absent use.
When you don't use something,
Yeah.
when you don't do something you're supposed to do,
Yeah.
you end up losing that thing.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Even though I think some people some people start to think, okay, so what am I supposed to use or do that I don't do, and I've
What are
lost
you not
it?
doing in your life?
Yeah.
What did you lose? There's always consequences, there's always a price that you're paying.
If they
Awareness.
recognize it, would they be able to recover it?
Not necessarily recover because what's
see.
done is done. But
Oh,
being able to take that lesson with them, then
then that is the lesson.
That's the karma, no?
That's the karma.
that's the karma.
Okay.
It's fulfilled.
Okay.
So, karma, this word has a lot of stigmas around it.
Yeah.
Most people would think that it's a negative thing.
Correct.
Karma is just cause and effect. Whatever you do, you reap whatever you sow.
Yeah. And there's and there's no religiosity around it, right? It's
No.
just the idea
We're
that
talking about the physics, the first principle of
Yeah.
things. Universal law.
correct. Okay. That makes sense.
So separation work is a
Yeah.
big one because if you ask somebody, okay, do you know who you are?
Wow.
They will say no.
Yes.
But do they know who they are not? They're probably going to say yes. They don't like this, they don't like that,
Yes.
they don't this, they don't like
I
that.
don't want that. I don't want that.
That's still a good starting point.
Yes, that's right.
But at some point, you must still recognize you still don't know who you are.
Mm.
You can say this is not you, this is not you, this is not you, but you don't know which one is you.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like you get into many relationship. This is not the person, this is not the person, this is not the person, but you don't know which one is the person.
Yeah, people are so what kind of what type? What is your type? I don't know. Now, who do you really want? Oh, I also don't know.
But when you ask them what they don't like,
They
tell
can
you.
list. Wow, the list very long, very clear. Yeah.
But that's exactly the point. Most people think that just by them exploring, taking their time, by them knowing what they don't like, they will eventually figure out what they like. That's not true.
Oh.
What you don't like, the opposite of what you don't like is not
It's
what
not
you
what
like.
you like. Yeah.
What you don't like, the opposite is what you don't like.
What you don't like. The opposite of what you don't like is what you don't like. Ah, okay. Linguistically, I can follow. Yeah, but I'm sure some listeners are turning that around in their mind right now. Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So
then, yeah.
part of the inner work is really about, instead of, you only have a fixed amount of time in your life. You're not going to
Correct.
explore everything in this world for you to know what you don't like, in order for you to say, this is what you like.
Yes, that's right.
Problem is, most people don't give themselves the opportunity, so they operate by this framework, and what they do, they settle down. They learn to settle down.
Correct.
Instead, what if the focus was about who you are, what you are? And in figuring out who you are, what you are, you know what you are.
Yes.
Part of it comes from your value system.
Yes.
But your value system is not just like a one-word thing called courage. You value honesty, you value beauty.
Yeah, it's not.
Value is also about what value are you creating in this world? What value are you putting out there? That's why the word is value. How are you adding value to the world? If something matters to you, you will do it anyway.
Yeah.
If being not enough is important to you, you will do it anyway. Therefore, not enough is your value system.
Oh.
Does it change your approach around inner work?
Yeah, it does.
So most people think they understand,
Inner work.
but they don't. They have not even scratched the surface of the card. This kind of card where you have to scratch,
Yes.
take a 10 cent and scratch.
Yes, and see what's the price or what's
Correct.
the thing underneath. I think that was an important one.
So
What is the value that we
put out there.
put out there? Yeah,
If something matters to you, you do it anyway.
correct.
If being fat is important to you,
Yeah, I would have continued.
be
to-
fat.
Yeah.
that's what we need to do work. And it's not like a motivation thing, like a NLP thing where you think you believe and then something will happen.
Yes.
Even your belief, look,
Yeah.
why do you believe in something? Because you're not sure whether is it real.
Yes.
Very controversial. Why do people keep saying that they believe in God? They're not 100% whether God really is there.
Yeah, that's right.
But they like to believe because of faith.
Yes.
But belief comes from faith,
Correct.
which is not the same as actuality.
Yes, it's different. Because, yeah.
I don't say I believe I'm wearing my clothes because I know for sure my clothes are there. I can feel it. My body can feel it. My skin can touch it.
Correct. But then we don't necessarily feel.
So
or
every
can
time
see
we say
God.
we believe in something, you're saying something that you don't have you can't prove it fully.
Correct.
I believe in you. Why do you need somebody to believe in you?
Correct. Because you don't fully believe. You don't fully have the proof. Okay, no, the one.
You don't believe in yourself.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, because we want what we don't have.
And of course, if you ask them why you don't believe in yourself, then all that
the
whole stuff
reason.
comes up.
Yeah.
But the reason is not the thing. So if humans are always lying, then guess what? The dreams don't lie. You see, the problem is this. Most people dream of something, they misinterpret it. They think it's something that is not. And it changes the entire meaning.
Oh,
Your dreaming doesn't lie. Your dreaming follow the river of consciousnness.
okay.
It's truer than you. It's more real.
So what then happens for most people? Because
They don't follow their dreaming.
They don't follow their
They
dreaming.
don't follow their body. They
Yeah.
don't follow the Tao. That's why they're not aligned. That's why you're not at ease. That's why diseases happen.
Well, then there's a lot of work to do, man.
There's a lot of work to do. And then some people think that if you do a 3-day class, your life will be fixed. No, this is a personal mastery. It's about you mastering your katana every day. You practicing your katana the right way. It's an everyday thing. It's not a one-off thing.
Yeah.
Some people want to be happy.
Yeah,
That's because they were not happy as they were growing up.
correct. Some people want freedom because they're not free. want peace because you're not at peace. Yeah.
You want what you don't have, and that's exactly the problem. If you chase after those things,
Yeah.
you realize that those things doesn't give you what you want.
Yeah.
Because there's always the original cause, and the original cause is way deeper than you remember. Just like you don't remember what you had for lunch last Tuesday, but yet you have the arrogance to think that you actually remember everything. You barely remember your childhood of what happened to you when you were 5, when you were 4, when you were 6. Correct. You only remember the significant ones. What about the insignificant ones that you no longer remember? You forgot about it.
And that actually still have an impact on you.
Of course, it's still
because it's in your body.
Part of your program is in your body.
Yeah.
So part of the whole awareness work and the consciousness work itself is for you to begin to remember all these things so that you can heal naturally. And there's a proper way to do it. So follow the Tao, follow the dreaming. It's going to show you who you are, what you are. Who you are not, what you are not.
Correct.
Ooh, that is synchronicity for sure.
Yeah.
You hear it?
That sudden sound at that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for this next one, I decided to take a different approach. I wanted to go through questions that were inspired from our recent trip out to the shops. And I just want to read out everything that came to mind and feel free to respond to what resonates with you as something to try. Okay? So the first question that I have is, I wrote your, but maybe it's our. Okay, what were your dreams when you were young? What if they held the key to your path and dharma? We speak so much about the youth, energy and excitement of ourselves when we are young, but how many of us try our best to return to that state or go back to see how it might be helpful to us? Okay, so that's another statement. Next one. What if healing our inner child is not just about understanding and resolving traumas, but also about how to identify our gifts, talents, and calling? And then this is about the clothing. The same piece of clothes can be worn in many ways to produce a different look, feel, vibe, and effect. So if people are meant to be dynamic, why do some people choose to be stagnant? How do we know when it's time for this word forever gets me, dynamism versus time for consistency? Are we treating our inner work and awareness with dynamism and creativity, or do we treat our awareness with consistency and discipline? There is a limited amount of fabric. And so this was about, how he talked about how there's a set of fabric limited, and once you finish a set, then only those designs will come out at one time, and then you won't get any more of the same design. So the question was,
bullshit.
I also feel it's bullshit, right? But then the question that got inspired from that was, are there only that many windows for a person to achieve their personal mastery? Yeah, so that was around limited time.
The window is now.
Yeah, the window is always now, right?
The window is always now.
Correct.
It's about you jumping in now. It's about you taking action now.
When do you know it's time to give something to yourself? Do you know why it's important to give energy back to yourself? And is there a right or wrong way to do so? Yeah. So that's about giving things to self.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, XJ, why don't I ask you a question? What would be of your interest if we don't rely on whatever that you just asked me? What are some questions you always have about life that you always want to talk to me about, but we never really quite talk about?
I think then it will be around the notion of something called knowing. There are certain moments when we have conversations, and then if I speak from a certain place, and then you have given me the comment before, that is a great place of knowing, or that is a moment of like wisdom that comes from a knowing. And I don't think I sometimes fully grasp that concept. So maybe the idea of knowing as a deep knowing versus academic knowledge or Google kind of thing, right? Because what I can glean from those moments is that there has to be some level of resonance and an acknowledgement of like a truth or like a wisdom. And that is what constitutes like a real knowing, and that's how change can happen or transformation can happen. Yeah. So maybe we can talk a little bit more about this idea of knowing and how can people get that, or how can people achieve that. Yeah. And sense that or know it. Yeah. What's this face? Too broad.
No, it's like we are making many jumps.
Oh.
It's like you're asking me, how do I train somebody intuition? How do I
Yeah.
train a psychic? How do you
Wow.
train somebody's knowing? First, we have to clean out whatever that's inside of them first,
That's true.
right? If
Yeah.
it's not clean, then it will always act as a filter against how they perceive information. It's not that the information was inaccurate, but the information go through the filter
Correct.
and becomes inaccurate
Yeah, it becomes warped
because they
becomes-
interpret it in the way that their system is built accordingly.
Yes.
So the problem with that is even if the right information you're picking up the right thing, the human interpretation gets into the way. The filters get into
I
the way.
see.
Just as when people dream about something, they try to make the dream
Makes sense.
make
Or-
sense. But
yeah.
making sense is not sense to the world or to the Tao. They're trying to make sense in their world, in their filters,
Correct.
because they can't grasp it.
Okay.
So a lot of times when people do that, the meaning is already lost, the essence is already lost. Not that
Yes.
it's really lost, but it's still there because we can always go back to the dreaming.
Correct.
So the first really discipline comes in healing and cleaning up those filters. Because when those filters are not in place, then you're no longer trying to control those information that's coming through, and the information is coming through the river of consciousness.
Okay.
It doesn't pass through any filter. It is what
see.
it is.
Okay.
And knowing comes in thereafter.
Yes. Because it has to be
When it doesn't pass us through any filter,
correct.
you know that this is going to happen. You know this. You know that. Does it make sense?
Yes.
It's a very good question.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether this is the right for the audience.
Right. It's one of the many jumps type thing, right? Okay. Then maybe we can take a step back, right, into the idea then of healing, right? I think healing, I'm not sure what most people have in their mind when it comes to healing. Okay. I think at a very intellectual level, it's like, oh, I recognize this, I feel whatever I need to feel, and then I express it out, right? But I think some people are always very fearful of looking back at traumatic past events and all that, and
Because they're scared.
they're scared.
If you
right?
open up a can of worms, how the fuck are you going to close it back?
Yeah. But
You
then,
can start hunting them.
but that is needed to do healing, right?
That's
Yeah.
why you have to work with people who knows not just to heal the stuff, but be able to bring you back into your body,
Correct.
into the
Yeah.
now time.
Yes.
Let's say you are going to think from it from a quantum atom point.
Okay.
You're going back into the past.
Yes.
You need to be able to come back into the now
Correct. Because you're actually in the now. But then you momentarily you went back to the past.
to resolve it.
Yes.
But when you resolve it, you cannot stay there.
Yeah. Because not you'll be
You have to come
trapped. I see.
What people are afraid of is losing control,
Okay. Yeah.
right?
But then their control, in a sense, it is.
The control issue is manifested from the fear of losing control.
Yes. Correct. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Wow. Then that is. So they first actually need to get past that part first. Hence the idea of letting go, of
Correct.
going into or going back or looking at it and just letting it surface, right? To be able to see. Wow, and that really is a personal battle. Or the battle is also part of what they tell themselves, right? That is hard, that is difficult. Yeah. Because I've seen and witnessed.
So what do you keep telling yourself in your work? Because I notice in all
Yeah,
our
I keep-
conversation, you keep reinforcing how hard and difficult things are.
Yeah. And I realized that it is my projection and my lens that I look at all things as well. Yeah, that really has been the theme when it keeps coming up.
You didn't answer my question, Master Coach.
Yeah.
What was my question?
I don't fully remember. But I remember the energy of it,
Which is
which is look at this thing that's repeating. Because it is.
why do you keep telling yourself things are hard or difficult? What do you get out from
of-
it if things are really hard and difficult?
Then I don't have to do them. Because it's too hard.
What a
Or to-
great narrative to be
Yeah.
a sloth.
Yeah. Instantly.
Another synchronicity
yeah.
from the ceiling.
Correct. Indeed. Yes. I'm reviewing my slothfulness. Yeah. Looking at how it has perpetuated in my life. And also there are times when I choose it thinking that I didn't choose it. But then there are definitely times when I definitely choose it. Knowing the full consequences of what choosing that means. Meaning like choose the attachment. Choose the end result that I already know will happen. Yeah. If I follow my body right now, right, the slothfulness is deafening. Does that make sense? It's like this big empty soundlessness that somehow I can hear. Even though I'm saying that it's soundless. But so this is what I'm sensing, right? Like this and like this. And it's like it's like you take a big cotton wool helmet and I pop it on my head. So everything becomes fuzzy, everything becomes like I'm trying to block stuff out. That's the image that suddenly popped into my mind.
I want you to gently amplify that. And let that unfold. Was that your stomach?
That was my stomach.
I see. You're processing stuff.
Yeah.
I thought it was my stomach.
No,
I didn't hear it.
It was my stomach. It was my stomach.
Cool. Amplify it. What's coming up for you at this point? Let it unfold.
The cotton ball is bigger than just around my head.
And where does it go?
It is almost as if like I am inside the cotton ball now. Yeah. That's why there's always this soft and fuzziness to the energy around me, and I always have the question like why do I want to be soft and fuzzy?
So I want you to follow your body and go into it. And I want you to become the sloth. Take on the essence of the slow and fuzzy.
Yeah, it explains so many things. The desire to want to be slow, to lie down, to stretch. The adjective that's coming to my mind is this L word called languid. You hear the sound of the word languid. And that's very different from like
Do it with your
focus.
hand motion. Say it.
Languid. Languid.
Keep going.
Languid. 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 stomach is protesting.
What does it protest?
Because the stomach is power and core is near the root. Near the
Solar plexus.
toes lower.
Well, depends.
Between, yeah. But it's about the fire of the stomach. And it doesn't want to be slow.
So we have to deal with conflict work.
Yeah.
It doesn't want to be slow.
Yeah. He wants to break free. He
He
wants
wants
to
to
push
break free.
Yeah. Just now not so noisy, on Sunny so noisy.
I
Right?
heard it.
Yeah. And it's not because I'm hungry, because I literally ate just now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is definitely some body thing. I need to let the fire come out
Let the fire come out.
so that it can burn away the cotton.
Let the fire come out. Amplify it with your hands. Amplify it with your hands. And let it come out. Become the fire. Good. Keep going.
So if I have flames in my hands,
Mm-hmm.
then I can begin to
Mm-hmm.
move the flame
Mm-hmm.
and begin to remove
Mm-hmm.
the fuzziness, the cotton wool.
Do it.
And then there is a assumption that the fire will burn and be painful. But there's also a lie. Because as I'm doing this, actually I'm not feeling that much pain. So then it's really just so much attachment to the fuzziness,
Mm-hmm.
so much attachment to the slowness, to the softness and the comfort feeling. There's a bit of a ache to the back of my head as well, as I'm trying to remove all these things. It feels more like I need to hold, I need to pull.
Pull. Cool. Doing it. Yep. Go. Go. More.
Better. the headache lessened.
Mm.
Really did feel like something was attached and it needed to be removed. So it's a bit of a hold back, but also like a plug in into something, for sure. First instinct was to thank you for the work that you put in just now. Yeah. But also thank myself for my work that I put in. Oh. Just how quickly it moved, right? It's a small fuzziness. It's around the head, it's around the whole body. Then suddenly the stomach kept making a noise. So it's around, then when I zoom in on the stomach, it's around flame, it's around motion, power, wanting to break free, wanting to move. And then you talked about the conflict, and yes, they're definitely like fighting against each other. Because the fuzziness was like a prison, very comfortable prison. Yeah. Made me want to sleep, made me want to doze off, that kind of energy. So then just burning is not the correct word, but when the heat, the fire in my hands touch it, it just kind of like, like those super flammable material that just disintegrate. But it didn't become a big flame or what, it just began to disappear. Yeah. Then after that was removed, then suddenly there was the idea of, why is there something stuck to the back of my head as like a big cable of sorts. Then I felt compelled to want to grab it and see if I can pull it out. Yeah, and it needed a few yanks. Yeah. Then now that I've yanked, and at the time, the back of the head started to throb, and there was like a headache of sorts, right? But it's not super headache, not very painful, but it's there. So then that's why I felt like a connection that needed to be removed somehow. Something was attached. Yeah.
Cool.
Wow. Time for more fire. Time for more stomach.
Time for more fire, time for more stomach.
Less cotton, less fuzz. Yeah. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was an example of process work and body work. Yeah. Any other work? Dream work as well?
Mm-hmm.
And dream work as well. Right? Because following the imagery, following what comes up, and making the connection with what's happening internally. Well, that answers a lot of those questions. How are you feeling?
I'm good.
Okay.